Welcome one and all to the ongoing mission of North American Bowling and SpareTalk toward bringing the sport of bowling back to the prominence it once held when the game was first brought to the shores of the American continents. The podcast that's featured here, with occasional current news items, tips, interviews, and more, primarily focuses on this day in bowling history. Here, we review news snippets from years and decades past, with the understanding that news isn't old, if you've never heard it before. It's with this clear and simple concept that we all must realize that in order for the game to grow, just as it did throughout history, the games must not be separated by the nonsensical ideology that any one game is superior to another. Through the unity of the games, we are all one. It's this unbreakable bond that explains why our sport has thrived and survived since the beginning of documented history. Accept all games and embrace them with the utmost respect. So, join our host, Rod Weaver, as we bring you the news of what happened on this day in the history of bowling. And now, on with the show.
All right, so imagine this. It's a Saturday night, late, like 1 a.m. You're out with a friend, grabbing a grinder from your favorite deli, just enjoying the college experience, you know. And then, out of nowhere, something falls from a third-story window.
Okay, sounds like a typical, albeit slightly chaotic, college town night. What could it be? A dropped phone? A book? Something innocuous, right?
Oh no, not innocuous at all. This wasn't just something. It was a bowling ball. A full-on, heavy, solid bowling ball, plummeting 3 stories down onto a young woman's head.
Wait, a bowling ball? Are you serious? I mean, what are the chances? That's absolutely terrifying. Who was it? What happened to her?
It was an 18-year-old University of Vermont freshman named Louisa Murray. And as you can imagine, the impact was catastrophic. She was instantly unconscious, bleeding on the sidewalk. Passers-by were screaming. A deli worker called the police. It was pure chaos, a scene of absolute horror.
My gosh, you hear stories like this, but you never expect them to be real. A bowling ball from a 3rd floor? The physics alone? I can't even imagine the force. So what was the immediate aftermath? Was she rushed to the hospital?
Immediately, she was taken to the medical center hospital, and neurosurgeons performed emergency surgery that lasted for hours. Her mother, Sarah, was in town for Parents' Weekend, which is just a cruel twist of fate, isn't it? She received a 3 a.m. call, and the doctors didn't mince words. The prognosis was grim.
Oh, that poor mother. Getting that call, knowing your child is fighting for her life, it's every parent's worst nightmare. What did the doctors say? I'm picturing the absolute worst-case scenario here.
They were incredibly pessimistic. Louisa herself later said doctors told her she initially had a 1 in a million chance of survival. A bowling ball straight to the head. It's hard to even comprehend surviving that, let alone recovering. Her mother described it as doctors being pretty pessimistic from day one.
1 in a million. That's not just grim, that's practically a death sentence right there. So how did she even begin to pull through? What kind of injury was it? Was it a fracture? Internal bleeding?
The article mentions emergency surgery, so you can assume severe trauma to the skull and brain. She was in a coma for days. For weeks, her mother stayed by her side, communicating through a family gesture, squeezing Louisa's arm 3 times, which meant, "I love you." Imagine that, just hoping for a response, a sign of life, through a simple squeeze.
That's incredibly touching and heartbreaking all at once. That small, intimate gesture of love being the only line of communication, it speaks volumes about the desperation and the hope. So she was in a coma for days. What was the first sign of progress then?
Her memory started coming back after about 2 weeks, and from there it was a long, arduous journey. Louisa describes it herself. I went from wheelchair to walker to crutches to a cane. That's incredible progress, especially considering where she started.
That's a testament to her sheer will and the dedicated medical team, I'm sure. But going from a coma to a cane in just a couple of months, after such a severe head injury, that really does sound like a miracle. What kind of therapy did she have to go through?
Her mother mentioned that much of the therapy was designed to reroute brain signals around the injured area. and her youth, being only 18, definitely helped in that process. Louisa even made light of some of the early exercises, saying they had her sticking little nails in holes, until they realized I was a little bit smarter than that. She was pushing herself, too. If they want me to do 10 sit-ups, I'll do 20. They tell me I can finish and I want to keep going.
Wow, that's the spirit you need for that kind of recovery, isn't it? That internal drive to just keep pushing. It sounds like she wasn't just surviving, she was actively fighting to get her life back. What were the lasting effects, though? I imagine an injury like that doesn't just disappear.
Absolutely. Physically, there were still visible signs. She used a cane, and her once long curly hair had been replaced by a buzz haircut, which she covered with a bandana or floppy hat to hide the scars. She said the bowling ball left a little dent, and the injury affected her speech when she got tired, and constant headaches, which is just awful.
Constant headaches, a dent in her head, speech issues. It's a stark reminder of the severity of what she went through, but even with those challenges, it sounds like her spirit was unbroken. Did she ever go back to the scene of the accident? That must have been incredibly difficult.
She did. Just last week, before the article was written, she went jogging and stopped by the deli to thank the man who called the police. She described it as leaving a funny feeling, and the hardest part, she said, was walking underneath the windows again. That's a huge step, confronting that trauma head-on.
I can only imagine. That takes an incredible amount of courage to return to the place where your life almost ended. It's not just physical healing, it's deep psychological healing too. Has this whole experience changed her perspective on life, on herself?
Profoundly. She said, "My self-confidence has come up a lot. It's hard to figure out why. I just appreciate myself more because it was almost not me." And get this, she said her relationship with her mother, which used to be a bit contentious, we used to scratch at each other last year, is now much better. We're very close.
That's an amazing silver lining to such a horrific event, to find a deeper appreciation for life, for herself, and to strengthen that bond with her mother. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? The fragility of life and what truly matters.
Absolutely. She was also reading the book Why Bad Things Happen to Good People, which I think speaks volumes about her process of trying to make sense of it all. This wasn't some reckless act on her part. She was just a student, having fun, after an interdormitory challenge of tug-of-war and volleyball. The police even said the incident was purely accidental. A woman in the apartment above moved a bowling ball sculpture to jam open a window, and it just fell.
A bowling ball sculpture? That's just wild, the series of events that led to that moment. It really does highlight how random and sudden tragedy can strike. But it also sounds like she wasn't alone in her recovery. Was there a lot of community support?
Oh, absolutely. Friends and family streamed into her hospital room, which was covered with cards and teddy bears. The university even set up an emergency fund for students who suffer future accidents. And a fellow student, Brad Lichtenstein, organized a volunteer program for students to visit and help Louisa pass the time. Her mother summed it up perfectly. People are what get you through something like this, and faith.
That's so heartwarming to hear. In such a dark time, to see that outpouring of support, not just from her immediate circle, but from the wider university community, it really shows the best of humanity, doesn't it? Coming together to help someone through something unimaginable.
It truly does. And she was making such strides that she was planning to move back to her dorm and attend a few classes, then head home for the holidays, but return in January to take 3 courses. Her doctors told her to take it easy, but Louisa was approaching it one step at a time, with an amazing mindset. She said, "I'm glad to be alive. I know today, and that's about it. I'm not looking into the future, and I'm trying not to look into the past."
That's a profound philosophy, especially for someone so young who's been through so much. Living in the present, appreciating each moment, it's a lesson we could all learn, even without experiencing such a dramatic event. But her mother mentioned unanswered questions, right? About the long-term effects?
Yes, her mother acknowledged that it could be years before the full extent of the damage suffered is known. Brain injuries are incredibly complex, but Louisa's own perspective is what sticks with you. She said, "I'm coming through this a lot better than I would have thought. If, before the accident, someone said, 'Okay, this happened to you, what would you be like?' I wouldn't say I'd be like this."
That's an incredible statement of resilience and self-discovery. It makes you wonder about the hidden strengths within us, the ones that only surface when we're pushed to our absolute limits. Louisa Murray's story is just a powerful reminder of the human spirit's capacity to endure and even thrive after facing the unthinkable.
It really is. A true miracle, as she called it. From a 1 in a million chance of survival to walking, laughing, and embracing life with a new perspective, all within a couple of months. It's an inspiring story of hope, determination, and the incredible support system that surrounded her. What a testament to life.
Absolutely. It makes you want to go out and live your life to the fullest, appreciate every moment. Louisa Murray's journey is a powerful one, and we're so glad we could share it with you all today. Thank you for joining us.
From the Orlando Sentinel, in the year 1975, surrenders in Fern Park Bowling Alley. 2 men and a woman were held by a masked bandit for more than an hour this morning in a Fern Park bowling alley before a Seminole County sheriff's lieutenant talked the man into giving himself up and releasing the hostages. Arrested and being held without bond in Seminole County Jail is Gerald Douglas Page, 35, of East Nelson Avenue, Alexandria, Virginia, who is charged with false imprisonment. Sheriff John Polk said his department received a call at 6:54 a.m. that an armed robbery was in progress at the Indian Hills bowling alley at 115 Wilshire Drive, and 3 people were being held. The area was sealed off with the assistance of Castleberry Police Department. Polk said Lieutenant Roy Huey, shift supervisor, went to a nearby telephone and called the bowling alley. Polk said Huey talked with one of the hostages, who relayed a message to Page. I told him I was in charge and asked if I could come inside if I did not carry a weapon. Huey said, I was told I could. After gaining entrance, Huey said he talked with Page and told him he was making matters worse by holding hostages and told him how worthless it all was. I told him to hand over his gun because he could have shot me as I walked inside. Page told me he guessed he did not have much of a choice. So he took off the ski mask and handed me his revolver, said Huey. After Huey talked with Page for approximately 15 to 20 minutes. The hostages, Mr. and Mrs. M.C. White of Altamonte Springs, who were cleanup maintenance employees, and Larry Larimar, also of Altamonte Springs, a mechanical maintenance employee, were released. According to Polk, as the maintenance employees entered the bowling alley, Page apparently followed them inside. The only injury occurred when White struggled with Page as he attempted to grab Page's weapon. White received a minor injury to his hands. From the Potomac News in the year 2007, Esterson, Haugen win titles. Joy Esterson of Annapolis, Maryland earned her first career Professional Bowlers Association Women's Series title when she won the United States Bowling Congress-sponsored event conducted at Stardust Bowl 2 in Maryville, Indiana. November 14 through 18, the ESPN televised match between Esterson and Liz Johnson of Cheektowaga, New York, an 11-time Professional Women's Bowling Association titleist, was dramatic. Both women displayed outstanding skills throughout the match, which culminated when they filled their 10th frames with strikes for a 226 to 226 tie, forcing a sudden death one-ball roll-off to be performed to break the deadlock. As the higher seed, Esterson chose to go first, and she struck to put the pressure on Johnson. When Johnson left a 7 count on her delivery, she settled for second place. Esterson earned $10,000 for her championship performance. Johnson took home the $6,000 runner-up prize. Olivia Sandham of Wichita, Kansas, rolled a perfect 300 game during the round of 16. And Michael Haugen Jr. of Cave Creek, Arizona, collected his first career Denny's Professional Bowlers Association National Tour title when he won the 2007 Lake County, Indiana Classic presented by United Way and hosted by Stardust Bowl 2 in Maryville, Indiana, November 14 to 18. In the first semifinal match, Haugen beat Todd Book of Cantonment, Florida by 2 pins, 194 to 192. And in the second semifinal match, Wes Mallett of Argyle, Texas, triumphed over Chris Barnes of Double Oak, Texas, 268 to 228. Barnes and Book each received $6,000 for their third and fourth place finishes, respectively. In the championship round, Haugen was victorious over Mallett, 247 to 239, and claimed the $25,000 purse. Mallet collected the $13,000 second-place prize. There were 2 perfect 300 games rolled during the event. Jack Jurek of Lackawanna, New York, and Sean Rash of Wichita, Kansas. Mika Koivuniemi became the PBA's 37th millionaire when he finished in 9th place. His earnings pushed his career winnings to $1,001,643. Koivuni reached the milestone in 232 career events, including Denny's PBA Tour and PBA Regional Tour events. From the year 1956, in the Green Bay Press-Gazette. Bowling pin lacquer blamed for big fire. A spark from a sanding machine touched off a fire Friday, which burned out a 2-story concrete block building which housed a bowling pin service company. Firemen estimated damage to the building 450 sets of bowling pins and machinery at $12,500. The company owner, Clifford Morris of Milwaukee, was away when the fire broke out. His wife, Marie, and an employee were in the shop, but they escaped unharmed. The spark that started the fire jumped a sanding machine and ignited some lacquer on bowling pins. From the year 1991 in the Baltimore Sun, Should the State Sport Be Changed? Just Ask Any Bowler, by Donald Bitek. It's not hard to find bowlers in Hartford who think the state sport jousting should be changed to duckpin bowling. Among the leaders of the campaign is Bel Air resident Kathy Williams, president of the Women's Baltimore Professional Duckpin Association, and ace duckpin bowler. You sure don't have to buy a horse to bowl duckpins. That's more than you can say about the current official state sport, said Williams. Duckpin bowling started here, and everyone can compete. There is a level of competition for every level of ability. She was among the county bowlers that traveled on October 29th to meet with other Marylanders at the Fair Lanes Pikesville Duckpin Bowling Center to kick off a campaign to have duckpin bowling designated the official state sport. Dave and Lynn Heller Belcamp residents are other duckpin bowlers who would like to see the state sport changed. Sure, it should be the official state sport, said Lynn, who carries a 136 average. It's accessible to everyone. The King family also supports the effort, noting that the sport is perfect for family participation. We are a duckpin bowling family, Dolores King said. Dolores has a 108 average. Husband Bill carries a 120-plus, and daughter Robin, 12, has a 114 average. Meanwhile, their son, Chuck, 21, is one of the finest youth duckpin bowlers in the nation. I cannot see me and my family going jousting together or playing lacrosse together, but we can and do bowl duckpins together, said Dolores. Maybe I am presenting a slanted view since all the comments come from duckpin bowlers. But bear in mind that Hartford County does not have a duckpin center. All of the residents quoted here routinely travel many miles each month to compete. Here are Mr. Vitek's arguments for designating duckpin bowling the state sport. First, approximately 250,000 people statewide bowl duckpins. And then remember that duckpin bowling started in Maryland, unlike jousting, or that other sports sometimes touted as deserving state sport status. As for jousting, it did not originate in Maryland. It originated in Europe as a competition of 2 armored knights on horseback who would try to knock each other off their mounts using lances. In Maryland, the sport is not practiced the way it should be. Jousters today attempt to lance a ring. As for lacrosse, it was a sport adopted from American and Canadian Indians. It did not originate in Maryland. I mention lacrosse because a few years ago, a group of lacrosse players pushed hard to get lacrosse to be the state sport. It did not work then, but they will probably be back to try again. Nothing against lacrosse as a state sport, but we are not going to get too excited about a bunch of guys named Biff and Buzzy running around in short pants while they hack away at each other with sticks. Can you picture yourself sitting around the fireplace on a cold December afternoon saying to your wife, "Kids and grandmother, let's get our lacrosse sticks, drive over to the lacrosse center and beat up on each other." Or, "Let's rent a few horses, some lances, maybe some spurs, and head for the jousting center." As for expenses, you can rent everything you need to bowl duckpins for a couple of dollars. Buying the equipment you need could run $100. Horses, however, can be a problem to rent. And if you buy them, you have got to feed them. And it's very difficult to shove a couple horses in a bag, unlike duckpin balls and shoes. I did not have any luck finding out how much it cost to rent a lacrosse field, and I never did find a jousting center. From the year 1985, In the press of Atlantic City, successful New England-based television show set to bowl its last frame. Candlepin bowling is going off the air after a 38-year run. Every Saturday morning for 38 years, thousands of New England television viewers have been tuning in to watch a cheapo-looking production from a bowling alley. Sweating contestants on Candlepin bowling vie for a share of $1,200 in prize money as their loved ones and other spectators cheer from a set of bleachers behind them. But now the show is about to bowl its last frame. The beloved Candlepin bowling is going off the air on January 27. Name another show that has been on for 38 years. You can't, said Phil Rubin, who has produced it for most of that time. Old Faithful, the Geyser, is always there, and Candlepin bowling is always there. WCVB, Boston's ABC affiliate, said it was forced to cancel the show to pump more money into its news operation. It is shopping the show around to other stations, but there are no takers yet. Candlepins is a regional variant of bowling that uses thin pins and balls small enough for an adult to palm. Players get 3 chances instead of 2 to knock down 10 pins, and pins in the alley are not swept away between shots. News that the show is on its way out was met with dismay from dozens of league bowlers at Fairway Bowling in Natick, where the program has been taped for 2 decades. Everything stops at my home on Saturdays. I don't answer the telephone anymore, said Eleanor Bartholomew of Needham, one of the 10 o'clock rollers who bowls every week at the 40-year-old lanes. If I miss it, I tape it, added Barbara Herber of Natick, another roller. Half the program's audience consists of women older than 50. Like Bartholomew and Herber, and nearly all the viewers are older than 35, WCVB says. The show draws an average of 178,000 viewers and consistently rates in the station's top 10 sports programs of the weekend, said WCVB research director Adrian Latosky. Sometimes it draws more viewers than the Red Sox or the Celtics. Part of the show's appeal is that it has remained a constant in a changing world. Loyal viewers watched when Joe Colina hammered strikes in the 1950s, when Tom Ulsta picked up tough spares in the 1990s, and they watched all-time women stand out, Stasia Zernicki. From the year 1991 in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, 2 hurt in shootings in bowling alley parking lot. 2 men were shot and wounded when 4 people opened fire with semi-automatic guns outside a bowling alley yesterday. The wounded Roosevelt Beasley, 22, and Donald Baker, 19, were taken to Fort Worth hospitals for treatment after the gunfire at Don Carter's All-Star Lanes at 6601 Oakmont Boulevard at about 1:50 a.m. Beasley, the more seriously wounded of the 2, was hit 3 times in the upper torso and once in the right foot, police said. Beasley was named in a murder warrant in the July 16 death of Kenneth W. Brazel, 27. Beasley was placed under arrest on the warrant but remained at John Peter Smith Hospital last night. His condition was not immediately available at that time. Baker was treated and released from Texas Osteopathic Medical Center. Witnesses said 1 gunman fired shots from the front of the bowling alley near the door, and 2 other men were firing from the west side of the parking lot. A 4th shooter was between the lot's west end and the gunman near the door, a witness said. Police arrived to find Baker wounded and being tended to inside the bowling lanes, and Beasley lying in the parking lot. One witness said Beasley was with him as he tried to unlock his car, and the 4 men started shooting. When the shooting stopped, the men got into several vehicles and left. One witness who was inside Don Carter's said he heard at least 35 shots. Officers who went to the scene found spent 9mm, .45 caliber, and .25 caliber shell casings. A bullet penetrated an apartment at the Arbors on Oakmont Complex but did not injure anyone. A resident of the apartment turned the bullet over to police. Police said information indicates that Beasley is a member of the Crips gang. Officers were pondering whether the shooting was gang-related. The manager at Don Carter's, who declined to give her name, said that she did not know why the shooting happened, but that gangs have chosen to use the bowling alley as a hangout, and that trouble has resulted in the past. Employees are frightened by the large number of violence-prone youths who gather at the bowling alley. She said, I am having a hard time keeping employees here, she said. Yesterday's was the 4th shooting to occur in the bowling alley parking lot, she said. Here is a quick outpatient visit at the bowling clinic of Dr. X from the Intelligencer Journal from the year 1959. A bowling tip on footwork. Practice your footwork without the ball until the tempo is natural. The first 2 steps are fairly slow. Speed up a little on the third step, and then the fourth step, the slide, should be a little faster. Rhythm is extremely important in timing, and your rhythm for right-handers in a four-step approach should be right, left, right, slide. From my own interpretation and experience here, the emphasis is on rhythm, which is the coup de grace, as we head toward the climax of good timing in bowling. From the Delaware Gazette, in the year 1986, Ferraro captures classic. Top-seeded Dave Ferraro opened the title game with 6 straight strikes and went on to capture the $150,000 Budweiser Classic by defeating John Gant 254-221. The victory Saturday was the first Professional Bowlers Association championship for Ferraro, a Kingston, New York pro who earned $27,000, and a trip to the 1987 Firestone Tournament of Champions in Akron. Gant of Independence, Kentucky, looked all but unbeatable in the semifinal match, starting with 6 straight strikes and routing Ron Palombi Jr. of Erie, Pennsylvania, 277-223. I saw John striking every ball out there against Palombi, and he was pretty intimidating, Ferraro said. In the final game of the 6th round Friday night, Gant posted a 279-207 win over Palombi to reach the nationally televised finals. Palombi started the championship round with wins of 237-214 over Charlie Tapp of South St. Paul, Minnesota, and 190-181 over rookie Purvis Granger of Lafayette, Louisiana. Gant, who earned $14,000 for second place, took over the PBA average lead going into the final tournament of the year. Palombi received $8,000, Granger $6,500, and Tapp $5,000. From the year 1985, in the Abilene Reporter News, Baker takes Bud. Top-seeded Tom Baker ended a 3-year victory drought with a hard-fought 183-181 decision on Saturday afternoon. Baker defeated a charging Storm DeVincent in the title match of the $150,000 Budweiser Classic Bowling Tournament. Baker clinched the title when DeVincent failed to convert the 3-6-10 spare in the 10th frame. DeVincent, who averaged 240 in defeating his first 3 opponents in the nationally televised finals, needed a mark in the 10th frame to post his first victory on the Professional Bowlers Association Tour. It was a satisfying triumph for Baker, who had finished second in 2 of the last 3 tournaments. "It just feels good to win again," said Baker, whose last victory came in the 1982 AMF Grand Prix in Paris, France. The Buffalo, New York pro put himself in a hole midway through the title match, leaving splits in the 3rd, 4th, and 6th frames to give DeVincent momentum. DeVincent opened the stepladder finals with a 210-190 decision over Tom Milton of St. Petersburg, Florida. DeVincent of Tamarack, Florida, then outscored Amleto Monticelli of Venezuela 277-223, and eliminated defending champion Guppy Troop of Neptune Beach, Florida 234-219. In the title game, DeVincent had just 4 strikes and opened in the 5th frame, letting Baker back in the match. "After I left that 3rd split, I thought I was done," said Baker, who won his 6th PBA event. But DeVincent, who finished as runner-up for the 2nd time in his career, sent the final ball wide of his target, leaving the 3 pins standing and Baker in the winner's circle. DeVincent won $14,000 for finishing second. That amount was more than double the $6,742 he had earned coming into this event. Troop netted $8,000 for third, Monticelli $6,500, and Milton $5,500. Well, I guess we've come to the end and we'll be wrapping it up for today. Thanks for stopping by and tuning in. As usual, if you haven't already done so and would like to be notified when future videos become available and are published, feel free to hit the subscribe button in the lower right corner of the videos or YouTube video screen. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the upcoming Thursday or Friday. Take care.